Izuku and Achako are walking to school. Izuku and Eureka arrive at their usual destination, but something is off. Then they pass the gate, they both of them black out. After a while, Izuku slowly opened his eyes. He looked around and found himself in a classroom. Izuku, what? Where am I? What the heck is going on? Izuku, is that a surveillance camera? He looked around the room. He noticed metal covering the window. Izuku, hey, what's that on the desk? Izuku, an orientation guide? It's some kind of cheap-looking pamphlet, and there's something handwritten on it. The next semester is about to start. Starting today, this school will be your entire world. What the hell? Is this someone's idea of a joke? Izuku, I should probably head back to the main hall. It's already past the meeting time. There might be other students there now. Izuku leaves the classroom walking through the hallway. He reached the main hall after some time. Izuku, geez, this hallway is kind of weird too. There wasn't any decorations anywhere in the hallway, and the entire time Izuku felt like he was being watched. He arrived to a gymnasium, and it is classmates. Lita. Oh Midoriya, you made it. Izuku, Lita. I'm glad you're here too. Achako. Deku, I'm so happy you made it. Izuku, I'm happy to see you too. Eureka. Tokoyami, so that make 20. Lita, well it seems everybody is here. Test 1 2 3, is it working? Lita, what was that? Hey there, howdy, hello, is everyone here? Good, then let's get things rolling. Sato, whoever is doing this better show themselves already. Hidden behind the mic appears a teddy bear. Denki, what is that thing? Mina. I think it a teddy bear. Lita, that's ridiculous. How can a teddy be able to talk? I'm not a teddy bear. Am Monokuma, and I am the school's headmaster. Lita. Headmaster? Monkuma. Nice to meet you all. Kirishima, wait a second. Why is a teddy bear the school's headmaster? Where are the real staff? Monokuma. Don't worry about it. Saro, hey. You didn't answer the question. Where are the teachers? We demand answers. Monokuma. Next announcement. You will all live a communal life together, solely within the confines of this school. Everyone will live in harmony together, and adhere to the rules and regulations of the school. Now then, regarding the end date for this communal life, there isn't one. In other words, you'll all be here until the day you die. Such is the school life you've been assigned. Toru, what did he just say? Until the day we die? Mineta. This has to be some kinda bad joke, right? Monokuma, oh, but fear not, we have quite an abundant budget, so you won't lack for all the common conveniences. Mineta. Wait, so? Why us? Why are we here in this weird-ass place? Monokuma. Oh, but you know, I guess I did forget to mention one thing. There is one way for you to leave the school. Lita, and what would that be? Monokuma, as headmaster, I've crafted a special clause for those of you who would like to leave. I call it the graduation clause. Now, let me tell you about this fun little rule. As I mentioned, in order to maintain an environment of harmony here, we rely on a communal lifestyle, and if someone were to disrupt that harmony, they alone would be allowed to leave the school. That, my students, is the graduation clause. Jiro, that's it? You can leave if someone breaks a rule? Monokuma. No, silly rabbit, if one person were to murder another. Lita, murder? You're saying one of us might get killed? Monokuma. Stabbing, strangling, bludgeoning, crushing, hacking, drowning, igniting. How you do it doesn't matter. You must kill someone if you want to leave. It's as simple as that. Bakugo, listen up, asshole. This shit's gone way too far. What the hell kinda joke is this? Monokuma, this isn't a joke. As I'm sure you've gathered, this school is your new home for the rest of your lives. Here, you'll forge everlasting memories and share wonderful moments with your friends. And you can kill each other to your heart's content here. How exciting. Mineta, he did not just say that. Bakugo, pick him up, gotcha. You little piece of shit. I dunno if you're a toy, or a stuffed animal, or whatever the hell. Either way, I'm gonna rip you to fucking shreds. Lita, Bakugo, stop. Monokuma was completely unfazed by Bakugo picking him up. Monokuma. Wah. Violence against the headmaster is in violation of school regulations. Bakugo, I don't give a damn. Give me the answers I want. Lita, Bakugo. You need to put him down. His eyes start to flash on and off. Jirao, what's going on with his eyes? They're flickering. Momo. Throw him, Bakugo. Bakugo throws Monokuma at a wall. Most of the class backed away from the explosion. Lita, what just happened? Did you just cause him to explode? Bakugo, what the hell? That sure as shit wasn't a joke. It blew up. Kirishima, this is too much. Suayu. But you know, this means that the teddy bear's been destroyed, right? Lita, I believe so. Monokuma. I told you. I'm not a teddy bear. I'm Monokuma. Kirishima, what? He's alive. Monokuma. Hopefully we'll no more interfere now then. Lastly, to commemorate your joyous entry into our school, I have a little something for you. This is our official student handbook. Pretty cool, huh? As you can see, it's fully digital, so naturally, we call it the e-handbook. Jirao a handbook? Why do we need it? Monokuma, ahem. Yes, well, moving on. This handbook is absolutely vital to a healthy school life. So don't lose it. When you start it up, it will display your name. Always make sure you have the right one. Now, this is not your everyday notebook. It has so many more uses than that. Also, it's completely waterproof. Splash it, wash it, drown it. It'll keep on ticking. And thanks to its space-age design, it can withstand an impact force of up to 10 tons. Very resistant. It contains all of our school regulations, so make sure you review them thoroughly. You'll hear me say this a lot, but any violation of school regulations will not be tolerated. Rules restrict, yes, but they also protect. Society, for example, would be utter chaos without laws. The same thing applies here, which is why it's crucial we have strict punishments in place for violators. Okay. Well, that brings our entrance ceremony to a close. Please enjoy your abundantly dreary school life. And, see yeah, Saro and he's gone. The gym was silent. Denki. A lie, is what it is. All these ridiculous things we've heard, this all has to be fake. Lita, I hope you're right. I pray this is nothing but some sick, demented test. Shoto, right now it doesn't really matter if it's real or fake. What matters is there anyone here who's seriously considering all this? Momo. So, what are you going to do now? Just stand around glaring at each other? Her pointed comment was directed at everyone in the room. It helped pull us back to reality. Lita, I have to agree. It is best we all discuss together in a proper manner. Bakugo, Jesus, if you have time to yell about it, you have time to do something about it. Lita, Bakugo, I agree that we need to do something. But everyone is too shocked right now to actually get anything done at the moment. Mineta, perhaps, but what is the mission? Exactly. Jirao, idiot. To look for a way out, duh. Bakugo, and we totally need to find out whoever was controlling that stupid bear, and beat the hell out of him. Kirishima, I completely agree. That's the first thing we have to do. There's no way that bear could have talked all on its own. Kauta, but before we do all that, maybe we should take a look at the handbook. It's probably best to check out the school regulations Monokuma mentioned before doing anything else. Lita, I agree. Maybe we can find information on the graduation clause he mentioned earlier. They read of the rules. School regulations. Number 1. Students must coexist within the confinements of this school for the rest of the foreseeable future. Number 2. Nighttime is from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. During this time, the dining hall and gym will be locked and the water will be turned off. Number 3. Sleeping anywhere, other than the dormitory, will be seen as sleeping in class, and punished accordingly. Number 4. You are free to explore the school at your discretion, with minimal restrictions. Number 5. Violence against Headmaster Monokuma is strictly prohibited, as well as the destruction of surveillance cameras and other equipment. Number 6. Once a murder takes place, a class trial will begin shortly after an investigation period. Participation is mandatory for all surviving students. Number 7. If the blackened is exposed during the class trial, they alone will receive punishment. Number 8. If the blackened is not exposed, or a conclusion cannot be made, they alone will graduate, and all remaining students will be punished. Number 9. A body discovery announcement will play when 3 or more students discover a body. Number 10. The headmaster may add additional regulations to this list at any time. Lita, it seems there is a lot we can't do. Bakugo, this is bullshit. What the hell kind of rules are these? I'm not gonna let them control me. Mina, you can say that again. We're being treated like babies with these dumb rules. Jirao, well then, why don't you wander around the school without a care in the world, and see what happens? Personally, I would love to see what happens when someone breaks one of the rules. Kirishima, Jirao's got a point. We definitely don't want to get on the bad side of whoever's in charge around here. Achako, hey, I have a question. For regulation number 6, what do you think it means exactly? Izuku, you're talking about the second half, right? Where it says unless they are discovered. I was wondering about that myself. Asu, I'm sure I'm not the only one with doubts here. I mean, what do you think discovery means? Exactly. Shadow, it's saying that if you want to graduate, you have to kill someone without anyone finding out it was you. Lita, this is sickening. Killing someone is the most unforgivable act a person can commit. What kind of school is this? Shadow, I don't see any reason to worry about it. Just worry about following the rules as they've been explained to us. Frankly, I don't want to hear anything from someone who waits for others to decide what to do for them. Lita, I'm not waiting for anyone to tell me what to do. I'm simply discussing things with the group, as anyone in their right mind would. Kirishima, okay, then let's all start looking around. Jirao, we should probably split up into groups to search the school. Shoto, I'll be going alone. Kirishima, what? You're going to walk around the school alone? Shoto, someone here might already have started thinking about murdering one of us. Are you saying we should stand around with them in our midst and make it that much easier for them? Kirishima, oh of course not, but we can't just have people walking around by themselves either. Shoto, don't bother saying it couldn't happen. You can't deny the possibility. That's why you all seized up with fear when that graduation rule was made clear to you. Am I wrong? Kirishima, it's not that I don't believe you. I just don't like the idea of splitting up. But I understand where you're coming from. Bakugo, hold on. Like hell I'm gonna let you run off. And do whatever you want. Kirishima, dude, don't start fighting with each other. Shoto, out of my way. Bakugo doesn't move. Bakugo, I'm not gonna let you go walking around this place on your own. Izuku, stop it. We shouldn't fight. Bakugo, the fuck you just say? You some kinda goody little bitch? Lita, stop it. Fighting will not benefit us in any way. He knocked out Izuku. Izuku, he punched me. And I flew back in a heap. It was like something straight out of a comic book. I didn't even see the punch coming. It was just suddenly right there in my face. 1 second I was standing there. The next I was soaring through the air. Now that I think about it, maybe I'd kind of forgotten the kind of people I'd been trapped here with. My common sense had just stopped functioning. Being around all these ultimates had blown my fuses. So I guess I shouldn't be surprised it led to something as absurd as this. But I'd just lost track of that sense of reality. That was my last thought as my consciousness started to fade, before it finally cut out completely. The bedroom was very simple, and didn't have much other than the bed, some drawers, bathroom, and a TV on top of the drawers. After checking it out I'd just walk out until I bump into someone. Izuku? Oh, Achako? Sorry, are you okay? Achako? Phew, it's fine. I'm alright. Achako? But, are you okay? You know, from when Bakugo hit you. Izuku? Oh, I'm fine. Nothing wrong here. Achako? Phew, that's good. I'm glad you're okay. But I can't believe Bakugo hit you. Izuku, thanks. By the way, what are you doing here? Achako? Actually, I came to get you. Izuku, you came to get me? Achako, well if you really are feeling better, I was hoping you could come to the dining hall. Izuku, the dining hall? Achako, after you got knocked out, everyone decided to go and do their own thing. We decided it would be more effective if we split up to investigate, so we agreed to get together later on and talk about what we'd each found out. Izuku, so does that mean it's almost time to get back together? If that's what's going on, then of course I'll go with you. Achako sighed in relief. Achako, great, let's get going then. The hall isn't that far from here. After the meeting Izuku went back into his room. The room was still the same, plain, simple, and basic. It was a little depressing when looking at it for long. Izuku, is this really where I'll be staying for the foreseeable future? Oh, that's right. I should check the bathroom one more time before I go to bed. Only the girls' bathrooms should have locks on them, right? Rattle rattle. Izuku, it's no use. It really is locked. Monokuma. BZZT. Wrong. Not locked. Shocked, Izuku turned around to look at Monokuma. Izuku, what are you doing in here? Monokuma, geez, talk about an overreaction. It's like you just saw a ghost or something. He was still shocked as he asked. Izuku, well why are you in my room? Monokuma, Izuku Midoriya, this is super duper majorly bad. So bad it's almost magical. Ultra magical awful attack. In point of fact, I acknowledge that the bathroom in your room is a problem with the doorframe. Izuku still had no idea what was going on. Izuku, wait. So the reason it won't open isn't because it's locked. The door just doesn't fit? Monokuma, didn't you see the notice? What, can't you read? The bathrooms in the boys' rooms don't have locks. I mean, a lock on a boys' bathroom is kinda pointless, don't you think? Well, it's not that it's pointless I guess, but I'm no expert on the birds and the bees, and all that anyway. There's a little trick to opening this particular ill-fitting door, and that's what I'm here to teach you. Okay, ready? So you just gotta turn the doorknob. Then lift up while you pull. Go ahead. Give it a try. Izuku was still a bit shocked by this sudden explanation, but did what he was told. Sure enough, it worked. Izuku, so all I had to do was pull up. Monokuma, pew-hoo-hoo. See? It opened right up. Isn't that crazy though? Your door's the only one that doesn't fit quite right. You're supposed to be a lucky student, right? But look like you're not lucky at all. Anyways, I suddenly don't feel like being here anymore. Bye. Leaves. With Monokuma gone, Izuku was left alone in his room. Deciding to call it a night, he began getting ready for bed. Ding dong, bing bong. Monokuma, ahem. This is a school announcement. It is now 10 p.m. As such, it is officially nighttime. Soon the doors to the dining hall will be locked and entry, at that point, is strictly prohibited. Okay then, sweet dreams. Everyone, good night, sleep tight. Don't let the bed bugs bite. Izuku, all I can do now is try and get some sleep. While still mumbling to myself, I collapsed into bed. My eyes closed almost immediately. It's not that I was ready for bed. Exactly, I was just utterly exhausted. It was as if I'd spent an entire day staring at a TV watching movies, or like some kind of illusion where I'd been tossed into a made-up fantastical world. Yeah, that feels about right. There's no easy way to just accept the situation we've suddenly been dropped into. His mind started drifting off to sleep, but right before he slipped out of consciousness, he mumbled out one thought to himself. Monokuma, good morning, everyone. It is now 7 a.m., and nighttime is officially over. Time to rise and shine. Get ready to greet another beautiful day. Izuku sluggishly sat up from his bed, a bit tired, but ready to take on the day. He got up from the bed, and after getting himself ready to go, he left the room and headed towards the dining hall. Lita. Good morning, Izuku. Izuku looked surprised to see Ida so early. Izuku, oh, good morning to you too, Lita. You're up pretty early as usual. Lita. Yes, morning greetings are quite a delight. Such an energizing way to start the day. Now then, let's make sure we both do our very best throughout the day. Izuku chuckled slightly. Izuku, it's always reassuring to see you're in good spirits, Lita. I appreciate you being you. As usual, Izuku. Knock on a Chako door. The door opened to reveal a Chako. Her eyes still looked a bit tired. A Chako? Yano? Good morning, Deku. Izuku. Good morning, Achako. Achako. Still a bit tired. Listen, I have a favor to ask. Izuku. What up? Achako? Can we talk in private? Izuku. Sure. Achako led Izuku to the hall outside, where they weren't as likely to be overheard. Achako? Oh, I've been thinking that there might be something around here I could use for self-defense. Izuku. Self-defense? Achako nodded. Achako? Why yeah, I guess after yesterday, I just started thinking, I need to be more careful. You know, just in case something happens. I thought some kind of weapon might help me protect myself. Izuku. Well, now that I think about it, that display case in the gym entryway had a bunch of stuff. Maybe. Achako perked up a bit. Achako? Wait, really? You think there might be something good there? Izuku? Yeah. Achako? Then let's go and check it out. Maybe they had a knife or something. Izuku? Yeah. Achako? Then let's go and check it out. Maybe they had a knife or something. Izuku? Okay. Izuku led Achako to the gym and showed her the display case filled with sports equipment and other items. Achako, wow, they have a ton of stuff here. Izuku, is this a sword? Oh no, I think it's just a replica. Still, it's pretty impressive. It's completely covered in a gold coating. But, geez, I barely touched it and I got that gold stuff all over my hands. Achako, wow, you're right. Your hands are totally gold. Even just for self-defense, I think it's a little. Izuku, well, it's still better than nothing, I guess. Achako, you should take it with you. It might help liven up your room a little. Izuku, you think so? Achako. But I guess you'd better be careful taking it back. You should wrap it in newspaper or something. I don't see anything I could really use for self-defense. Izuku, hey, don't worry about it. It's not like you need it right away, right? Plus, if anything were to happen, when the time comes, I'll protect you. Achako looked a bit relieved. Achako Deku, you do that? A small smile spread out on her face. Achako, thank you for saying that. If I've got you on my side, I guess I don't need a weapon after all. Okay, we can stop looking for a weapon then. Next day Izuku just woke up. Today was a new day and Izuku woke up pretty early this time. He got out of bed, stretched, and looked at the gold-colored sword he had taken from the gym display case. The morning announcement rang through the school, and almost immediately afterwards his classroom door was knocked. Lita. A fantastic morning, isn't it? Izuku chuckled as he approached the door and opened it. Izuku. Indeed it is. You seem excited this morning, Lita. Lita, now then, if you'll pardon the interruption. He was still a bit amused by Lita's unusual morning energy. Izuku, I have a feeling you came here for a reason. Lita. No matter how intensely the stormy seas may batter me, I will not fall as long as my feet are firmly planted. You agree, right? Izuku scratched his head, a bit lost from Lita's metaphor. Izuku. Well, I suppose so. So, did you come to my room just to tell me that, Lita? And if you can't do it alone, just find someone to support you, and you can support them back. Izuku tried to understand Lita's strange way of motivating the class. It was a bit convoluted, but still nice of him nonetheless. Izuku. Why yeah, that's pretty useful advice, Lita. Thanks, Lita. I was thinking about it last night, and I decided we all need to really come together, and that was when I realized, every morning from now on, after the morning announcement, everyone should have breakfast together, and now is the beginning of that fateful day. Please head to the dining hall at your earliest convenience. That's all for now. I have to go let everyone else know the good news. Leaves. Izuku was surprised by the announcement, but agreed with Lita. Spending more time with the others outside of investigations would do them all some good. As Lita left, Izuku shut the door and looked down at the sword again. He wrapped the sword in some newspaper lying about and left his room, making his way to the dining hall. Lita. Okay. Looks like everyone's here, so then, let's begin our very first breakfast meeting. The class was already sat around the tables in the dining hall. They all waited for Lita to explain why this meeting was necessary. Lita. Everyone, thank you for making time in your busy schedules to come together. Several of the class mumbled a no problem as they waited for Lita to get to the point. Lita. I know I already mentioned this earlier, but, in order to get out of here, it is essential that we all cooperate with each other, and the first step is this breakfast meeting, to allow us to become friends and build trust. So from now on, let's all meet here in the dining hall every morning after the morning announcement. Now then, let's eat. The class was quiet for a few seconds, but then all the chattering started as they began eating. Mina. Well anyway, did anyone happen to come up with any clues? Silence echoed throughout the dining hall. Seriously? Nothing at all? Anything it can be about how to get out, or who's doing this. Nobody has anything. The room remained silent as everyone realized the sad truth. Nobody had found any clues after 2 days. It was very discouraging to say the least. Denki. It's okay. Everything's absolutely, positively, 100% without a doubt gonna be okay. 'Cause help's gonna be here soon. I'm sure of it. Kaminari's words seemed to cheer up the class a little, as they silently hoped the same were true. Monokuma, the police? You're putting your faith in the police? Monokuma popped out of nowhere, laughing and mocking the class. Tokoyami, what are you doing here? Monokuma ignored Tokoyami, and continued to speak to the entire group. Monokuma, the police? The very pinnacle of the law and order, the ultimate peacekeepers? Well, I'm here to burst your bubble. Monokuma, I thought all you kids were lazy and selfish, and here you are working together. But I'm totally bored. Izuku, there's nothing you can say that'll make us start killing each other. Monokuma laughed loudly at this. Monokuma, wait. I think, yes. Ding ding ding. I figured it out. All the mystery ingredients are here, right people, right place. So why hasn't anyone killed anyone yet? That's what I couldn't understand. But I just realized there was one very important piece missing. Izuku, what are you? Monokuma, desperation. That's what's missing. Monokuma. So I need to change. That's so I'm giving your guys a motive. The entire class was surprised by this. A motive? What could he possibly do to get them so desperate they would start killing? Bakugo, motive? What the fuck are you talking about? Monokuma completely ignored him, and continued on with his plan. Monokuma? A motive. Yes, and I think I know exactly what kind I'll give you. Everyone, look under your seats. Bakugo, stop changing the goddamn subject. Monokuma laughed again, and repeated himself. Monokuma, I said, look, under your seats. The class did as they were told, confused more and more as they found the same thing under their seats. Tapes. Monokuma, meet me in the computer lab. The class looked at each other, confused and concerned. Nevertheless, they began to head to the computer lab as they were instructed. Izuku did what was instructed, and put the tape in the computer. Once everyone was sat down, the tape started to play, showing each person's tape, and what was on it. Izuku, I yelled out without realizing it, and my heart started racing, because what I saw on that monitor, it was my family. This was the first tape, and it revealed something Izuku had never expected. He could only watch, shocked and confused, as his mother and father appeared on the monitor, talking and interacting. Ainko, you getting picked to attend AU is like a dream come true. Make sure you do your best. The tape showed a montage of clips of Ainko interacting with young Izuku, as she talked to him. Everyone, particularly Izuku, was confused and worried as the tape started to distort and glitch, the video and audio losing quality. It show his house a mess. Then before they open Ainko door the tape cut. Look for the answer after graduation. Izuku. What is this? What happened to everyone? I started trembling. I could feel the fear and anger building up inside me, like hot magma. God damn it. I slammed my fist against the desk over and over again. A single thought was racing through my mind. What else? How could I think about anything else? I have to get out of here. I have to get out, right now. I need to make sure everyone's safe. Achako didn't say anything before getting up and running out of the room. Everyone was shocked to see that she like Izuku, had completely lost her calm composure. He found her in a classroom. Izuku, oh Achako? Are you okay? Achako was sat on a desk by herself. She was staring into space, her hands trembling a bit. She looked up at Izuku as he entered, and sat down beside her. Achako? Yeah. I'm fine. Actually, no. How could I possibly be fine? What did we do to end up like this? Why are they doing such terrible things to us? I want out. Let me out of here right now. Izuku, Achako, calm down. Izuku pulled her closer, and held onto her shoulders, pulling her into a tight hug to try and bring her back from wherever she was mentally. Izuku, I understand. I know how you feel right now, when I think what might have happened to my family, but now more than ever we have to stay calm. This is exactly what they want. They want us to lose our composure and stop thinking rationally. Think about it, those videos have to be fake, because if those things really had happened, people out there would be in an uproar. Our families, the police, everyone, right? Achako was silent for a moment, before sighing and nodding her head. She buried her face into his chest, trying to get herself together. Izuku, so let's just calm down, okay? Otherwise, we've already lost. I knew I was trying to convince myself just as much as her. I kept repeating those words to myself, to clear away the images that had been burned into my brain. Be calm, okay? Just be calm. As long as we work together, I'm sure we can find some way out of here, and help might even come before that. Achako nodded slowly, still clinging to him tightly. She took a few deep breaths, slowly beginning to regain her composure, and thinking more rationally. Achako, but what if there isn't a way out? What if help never comes? Izuku, if that happens, then I'll get you out of here myself, no matter what it takes. Achako's eyes slowly began to fill with tears. She pulled her face back from his chest and looked at him, a little surprised by his words. She smiled softly and placed her hand on top of his. Izuku took hold of her hand, squeezing it tightly. They sat silently together for a moment, trying to comfort each other and themselves. They had no idea if those tapes had been faked or not. They had no idea if help was coming. They had no idea if they'd ever escape. Izuku, you should get some rest. Achako, you still look pretty shaken. Achako slowly nodded, knowing he was right. She was pretty exhausted and still quite emotional, and some rest would do her good. Achako, but what about you? Aren't you going to rest too? Izuku, I will as well. Achako still looked a bit worried when she heard that, but she trusted his word. There was no use trying to force him anyway. He could be pretty stubborn when he wanted to be. When I opened my eyes, they darted immediately to the clock. Izuku, it's almost 10 o'clock. I fell asleep without even realizing it. Nighttime's about to start. So how come someone's here? Izuku was even more confused now, as he looked at Achako. She looked quite scared and uncomfortable. He wasn't expecting to see her here so late at night. Achako, I'm really sorry to come by so late. Izuku, Achako, what are you doing out so late? That's when I noticed. Her body was trembling. Izuku, is everything okay? Achako looked down and didn't respond for a few seconds. She looked very uncomfortable and nervous about something. Eventually, she spoke up and answered in a very quiet voice. Achako, sorry to bother you, but something really weird just happened. Izuku, something weird? Achako swallowed nervously, clearly struggling to say what she wanted. She was shaking even more than before. It was like she was terrified of what was going on. Achako, just a little while ago, I was laying down in my room, and all of a sudden, my door started rattling and shaking. Her voice sounded like all the air had been squeezed out of her lungs. Just hearing her talk made me tense up. Achako, it was like someone was trying to force the door open. My door was locked, so they couldn't get in, of course, but they started shaking the door harder and harder. I was so scared I couldn't even move. Izuku, so what happened? Achako swallowed nervously and ran her hand through her messy hair. She was very clearly shaken up by what she had just experienced. Achako, I stayed there, frozen for a while. They kept on shaking the door for a minute, and then they just stopped as suddenly as they had started. I didn't hear the other doors shaking, so I think they were only at my door. Izuku, someone tried to force their way into your room? But who would do something like that? Achako shuddered and wrapped her arms around herself. It was clear she had no idea what was going on either, and it was even more clear just how terrified she was by all of this. Achako, I don't know. I've been scared to go back even since. I just don't feel safe being all alone. She had a pleading look in her eyes as she looked at him, as if silently begging him to let her stay with him. Izuku, then, why don't you stay in my room tonight? Would that make you feel a little better? Achako's eyes widened a little, and she stood in stunned silence for a moment before nodding slowly. She was clearly relieved by his offer, and she looked at him with a mix of gratitude and nervousness. What? Izuku, all it said in the school regulations was that we had to sleep in the dorm rooms, right? It didn't state specifically which room each person had to sleep in. So, Achako was still surprised. It hadn't crossed her mind that they had that option, but he was right. The regulations didn't say anything specifying where exactly in the building they had to sleep. Izuku, if it'll help put your mind at ease, then it's totally fine with me. But, I don't mind you staying in my room. But are you sure you're okay with me staying in yours? That doesn't concern you. Izuku, switch rooms? If it'll help put your mind at ease, then it's totally fine with me. But, I don't mind you staying in my room. But are you sure you're okay with me staying in yours? That doesn't concern you. Achako shook her head, giving him a small smile. Achako, of course not. I trust you way more than anyone else in this place. Ding dong, bing bong. Monokuma, ahem. This is a school announcement. It is now 10 p.m. As such, it is officially nighttime. Soon the doors to the dining hall will be locked, and entry, at that point, is strictly prohibited. Okay then, sweet dreams, everyone. Good night, sleep tight. Don't let the bed bugs bite. Achako shivered as the announcement played. Just hearing Monokuma's voice was enough to put anyone on edge. Even in the most relaxed of situations, she really didn't want to go back to her room and risk that mysterious person coming back. Izuku. Okay. So it's settled. I'll head to your room right now. Achako nodded and smiled softly, feeling thankful for his offer. It just made her feel more comfortable having someone nearby. She didn't think she'd be able to get any sleep tonight, but it definitely made her feel a lot safer. Achako, Izuku, please be careful. If someone comes to the door, don't open it no matter what. Izuku, I won't. The same goes for you, Achako. No matter who it is, don't open your door for anyone. Achako, good night then. See you in the morning. I went to her room and fall asleep. Monokuma, good morning, everyone. It is now 7 a.m. and nighttime is officially over. Time to rise and shine. Get ready to greet another beautiful day. Izuku slowly opened his eyes and sat himself up, rubbing them tiredly. For such an awful situation they'd been in, he'd actually slept quite well last night. Izuku, I just remembered. I promised to eat breakfast with everyone else. I'd better get going. Lita. Hello, Izuku, and good morning. Can you believe it? I was the very first one here this morning. Izuku smiled at Lita as he approached. It was no surprise that Lita would be one of the first to arrive in the morning. He had such a strict daily routine that he'd most likely wake up at around the same time each day regardless of the situation. Izuku took a seat beside Lita as the other students started filtering in. He looked around as everyone came in and took their seats, keeping his eyes on the door to see if Achako would come in as well. Lita, wait. Aren't we still missing some people? Izuku glanced toward the door and realized that he was right. There were still a few people that hadn't come in for breakfast yet. It was still a little early, so the others could have just been running a little late. But as he thought about it, he was worried about one person in particular. Mina? Yeah. Achako and Shoto aren't here yet. Izuku's worries were confirmed. Achako and Shoto were the two that had still not arrived. He frowned as he thought about what had happened last night. Hopefully they were both just oversleeping. That would be a better explanation than the alternative. Shoto, what's going on? Did something happen? Izuku, I need to go. I have to check on her. The words had barely left my lips before I flew out into the hall. Where I headed first was my room, where I'd let Sayaka stay for a single night, where she was supposed to be safe. But over the course of that one night, the room had been completely transformed. As soon as Izuku opened the door, his eyes widened. At the sight of the room, it looked like a tornado had ripped through it. The bed sheets were torn up, the drawers were completely empty, and were lying on the ground. The desk was all scratched up, and even the door was damaged. It was an absolute massacre. Izuku, what the hell this is? The replica sword I brought back for self-defense. It's the sheath for the replica sword. The sword itself has been removed. The room was such a horrifying sight. Not only was it messy and torn up, but that replica sword was gone. He could instantly tell it had been taken by whoever vandalized the room. The question that was troubling him though was why? Why would someone do something like this? Izuku, I'd better check the bathroom. Let's take a look inside. His stomach sunk with dread as he moved toward the bathroom. The door had been left slightly cracked open, and there was a sense of foreboding surrounding it. He took a deep breath and opened the door, preparing for the worst. The sight that met Izuku was the absolute last thing he could have prepared himself for. His mind instantly went blank as he saw the body in the bathtubs. It was covered in dark red blood, but that messy hair and body of Achako. Izuku, it took me a second to realize that I was screaming. What I saw dug its way through my eyes and buried itself in my brain. And then, everything went black. Izuku, when I opened my eyes, I found myself staring at a huge ceiling. It was a ceiling I remember seeing before, and when I sat up, I saw someone looking at me. Again, it was someone I'd seen before. Mina? Ah, you're awake. Finally. Are you okay? Bakugo, now's no time for sleeping. Get your ass up. Izuku looked around, feeling more than a little disoriented. He was lying on what felt like an examination table, and there were two people staring down at him. Mina looked worried but relieved to see him awake. Bakugo just looked annoyed, as usual. Izuku, what happened? So it wasn't a dream? What I saw, it was real? Bakugo was the first to respond, just his usual blunt self. Bakugo? That's right, it really did happen. Ochako is dead. Izuku. A deep, dark despair worked its way through my body, and then exploded out of me. I shot up and took off running. Bakugo, hey, where do you think you're going? Izuku. I have to see for myself. I have to see if Ochako is. If Ochako is. Bakugo. You can check once, twice, 1,000 times. Ochako is completely and irrevocably dead. Those words seemed to cause his legs to falter even further. It sank all the faster into his mind that what he saw was real. There could be no doubt about it. Ochako was really dead. Izuku. Well, what good is it gonna do just sitting around here? I mean, why are we all hanging out in the gym at a time like this? Our friend, Ochako, she's dead. Dead. When I said that, it finally hit me. Momo. None of us want to be here right now either. Izuku. Then, why? Mineta? Shouldn't it be obvious? Monokuma. He told us all to see come here. Lita. Well, hold on. Don't talk like that. We all protested it. I mean, we remember the terrible price Ochako had to pay, but, Momo, I'm the one who convinced them to come. Right now, we need to do whatever he says. We're his prisoners, right? It's not a good idea to defy him without reason. We don't need to make any more sacrifices than we already have. Momo was the only one that had managed to keep her head clear, and her reason straight. The others were too consumed by despair to think with a straight mind. But she was still able to think through the situation clearly. Like Lita said, they were all prisoners now. It was a horrible truth, but one that they were now forced to accept. It wasn't worth the risk of losing more people. Izuku. Why should we listen to anything he has to say? It's obvious he's the one who killed Ochako. Monokuma, I would never do that. If you can believe anything, you can believe that. Monokuma, unless someone violates a school regulation, I absolutely will not interfere. I can promise you, I won't do anything that goes against the purpose of your school life here. I'm famous at safari parks throughout the world for following the Bear Times 1 rule. Toru then, who did it? Who killed her? Monokuma? You already know the answer. The one who killed her is one of you. Monokuma. What's the matter? You guys all look like you're about to see a dove get shot up with a Gatling gun. Don't you remember what I told you when this all began? One of you decided to kill Ochako so that you could graduate. Someone's just following the rules. There's nothing wrong with that. Izuku. He's lying. I'm telling you. He killed her. Izuku couldn't keep his anger in check anymore, as Monokuma spoke to them, acting like everything that had happened in normal. It only caused Izuku's anger and frustration to grow. His mind was working overtime at that horrible bear's words, and he could only think of one thing right now. Monokuma? Nope. Sorry, one of you is now a bona fide killer. If they wanted to, the one who did it could testify to that little fact. Shoto, if one of us really did kill her, that person gets to graduate from the school, right? Monokuma seemed amused by Shoto's words and let out a lighthearted chuckle. Monokuma. Huh? Shoto, don't play dumb. That's what you said, isn't it? If you kill someone, you get to leave. Monokuma chuckled again, and tilted his head slightly to the side. Monokuma? Bwahahaha, Krishima. What's so funny? Monokuma continued to chuckle, but the look on his face changed to an almost sinisterly sly smile. Monokuma, Puhu, it's cuz. Naive. You're just so naive. You think it's really that easy? You can just kill someone and waltz on out of here? You're super naive, devilishly naive, hellishly naive. No, the real thing has just begun. Izuku, the real thing? Monokuma's words took on a deeper, more sinister undertone. The cheerful expression dropped and was replaced by a sly smile that chilled everyone to the bone. They had the sinking feeling that whatever he was about to say was definitely not good news. Monokuma? Are you ready? Allow me to explain the second part of the rule regarding graduation. Just like I explained before, you must kill someone if you want to leave. However, even if you do that, there's still one more part to the agreement you have to upload, remember? Jirao, you are referring to rule number 6 of the school regulations. Everyone's faces instantly blanched as Jirao mentioned rule 6. It seemed like they all instantly knew exactly what he was referring to, and a look of absolute dread took over everyone's expression. Jirao, if you are the Blacken that committed the murder, You can't be found out by the other students. That is what you are talking about, is it not? Monokuma chuckled as Jirao spoke about Rule 6, and he gave a small nod of acknowledgement, but his words carried a hint of sinister amusement to them as he spoke. Monokuma, correct. How did you figure it out? You're a regular Sherlock, aren't ya? Monokuma, so, a certain amount of time, after a murder has taken place, a class trial will begin. Yup, it'll begin a few hours after the murder. Everyone will gather together, including the blackened who committed the murder, and they and the spotless students will all engage in one big debate showdown during the trial. You'll have to present your arguments about who you think the blackened is, and once everything comes to an end, the outcome will be decided by popular vote. If the answer you've arrived at is correct, only the one that disturbed your peace will be punished. The rest may continue their communal life. However, if you choose poorly, then the one who got away with murder will survive, and the rest of you will receive your punishment, which of course means your school life will come to an end. As far as class trial rules go, that's all there is to it. Mineta, so, what exactly is this punishment you keep talking about? Monokuma's sly smile grew even larger at that question. He almost looked a bit too eager to explain that part to them. Monokuma, a pupu. That's the fun part. The punishment for the blackened is something quite simple. Monokuma, execution. That's right, a capital punishment. What a truly magnificent and wonderful punishment, don't you think, Mineta? The execution? Toru, and by execution you mean. Monokuma let out another sinister chuckle as he continued to explain. Monokuma, that's right. In execution. The punishment for your capital crime is execution. And that's it for the explanations. Any more questions before we get started? Lita, so, to make sure I understand, if we get the culprit right, then only they die, but if we get it wrong, all the rest of us get executed. Monokuma's smirk grew even more sinister as Lita spoke, and he chuckled a bit while nodding as he responded. Monokuma, that's exactly right. If you figure out who the culprit is, then only they will be punished for taking a life, and if you all unanimously decide on the wrong culprit, then that person will be able to graduate from this school, and the rest of you will suffer a most horrible and gruesome execution. Monokuma, anyways, none of that matters right now. I have something I'd like to give you to help you in your search for the blackened. This little file has all the information I've gathered about the death in question. I like to call it the Monokuma file. I mean, naturally you guys aren't experts at this kind of thing, so you can only do so much with a corpse. So instead, I've gathered up everything I know about the circumstances and cause of death. What's that? How do I know the cause of death, you ask? 'Cause the surveillance cameras picked up the whole thing. I got to see it all go down. Monokuma chuckled and giggled excitedly as he held up the file and spoke gleefully, though the rest of the students were a bit unnerved by the thought that he now had surveillance cameras monitoring their every move. It seemed like nothing that happened in the school was secret. He was probably watching at every second, at all times. Monokuma, now then, please put your full effort behind your investigation. After all, you don't have any choice but to give it your best shot. Seriously, you don't have a choice. Okay, so we'll meet up for the class trial in a little while. Leaves. Monokuma left just as suddenly as he had arrived, leaving the students all frozen on the spot. The silence in the room was deafening now, and the air was thick and heavy with tension. Everyone was in shock, and no one moved. The gravity of everything that had just happened, and the fact that they were now forced into these terrible circumstances, was enough to leave even the most collected and rational of the group utterly paralyzed. After getting of the evidence they get ready for the class trial. Once everyone had gathered any evidence they found, it was finally time for the class trial. Though no one felt truly ready to deal with this horrible situation, there was no getting out of it. They all looked at each other with deep trepidation, knowing that there was no turning back now. Monokuma, let's begin with a basic explanation of the class trial. So, your votes will determine the results. If you can figure out who done it, then only they will receive punishment. But if you pick the wrong one, then I'll punish everyone besides the blackened, and the one that deceived everyone else will graduate. Lita, okay then, everyone close your eyes, and whoever did it, raise your hand. Lita's words caused the other students to give him an odd look, but no one actually thought he would be able to figure out the blackened in such a simple way. But no one objected, and everyone closed their eyes and stayed still. Everyone stayed quiet, waiting to see what would happen. Bakugo, don't be a goddamn idiot. Why the hell would they raise their hand? Momo, before we move on and start the trial, can I ask a question real quick? Momo, what's going on with that pictured? Monokuma, I'd feel awful if she got left out just because she died. Friendship penetrates even death's barrier. Monokuma, okay, that about does it for the preamble. Get ready to get started. First up is the case summary. Now let the class trial begin. Lita. I assert that the one who was murdered was Miss Achako Uraraka. Denki. Yeah. We know that part already. Shadow. And the murder took place in Izuku room. Mina. In the bathroom. Toru. So it seems most likely that the killer must have taken her by surprise while she was in the bathroom. She didn't even have a chance to re-see. Izuku. No, that's wrong. Izuku. Just a second. Toru. Try to remember how my room looked. With the way things had been damaged, I think we can definitely assume there was a struggle. Lita. So, there was a struggle, which means that the killer didn't just take her by surprise. Izuku. Yeah. Denki. Okay. So what's next? Aoyama. Next is the subject of the murder weapon. Aoyama. So what was used to kill her? Lita. There was some kind of sharp object thrust into her stomach. Without a doubt, that is the murder weapon. Satao. So the killer used some random knife they had on him. How cow? Izuku. No, that wrong. Izuku. No, I do think it was a knife, but not just any knife. I'm almost positive it was a kitchen knife. Izuku. After the murder, we discovered that one of the knives from the kitchen was missing. Sero. Okay. So the murder weapon was a kitchen knife. But where does that get us? I mean, we all know Izuku killed her, right? Mineta? That's alright. Izuku room was the scene of the crime. What more proof do you need? Izuku. Hold on a second. Izuku's attempt to try and defend himself was cut off as several others in the room spoke up all at once, drowning out what he was trying to say. But he couldn't blame them. Everyone in this situation was on edge and wanted to get rid of any lingering doubt that they had. Momo. Let's draw our conclusions after we've presented our arguments. Otherwise, what's the point of the trial? Momo's words instantly shut everyone up as she reminded them of the purpose of the entire class trial. They were supposed to be presenting their arguments to come to a conclusion. Accusing anyone immediately was not going to do any of them any good. Sero. Well, we can talk all we want. It's not gonna change that conclusion. Momo. I don't think that's true at all. I'm sure if we keep at it, something new will reveal itself. Sero. So I guess there's no question that the kitchen knife was the murder weapon. But where does that get us? Mineta must have taken it from the kitchen, right? He did it in secret, when nobody was in the Didini. Izuku. No, that wrong. Izuku. Okay. Wait. Hold on. I didn't take the knife from the kitchen. Mineta. Next you're gonna say you're not the cake killer, right? Go ahead, and say it all you want. Izuku. Well, what if I have a witness? What do you think, Mina? Mina. Huh? Izuku, remember what you were telling me earlier? Izuku. Just to be perfectly clear, the knife disappeared while you were in the dining hall, correct? Mina. Why yeah. That's right, Izuku. And at any point while you were there, did you ever see me come into the dining hall? Mina seemed surprised as Izuku questioned her, and everyone else waited with bated breath to hear the answer. They needed to know whether or not Izuku had a solid alibi for himself. Mina. Well, and no, I didn't see you come in. Izuku. The knife disappeared while Hina was in the dining hall, but I wasn't there the entire time. In other words, there's no way I could have taken the knife. Mineta. Okay. Then what about this? What if Mina and Izuku are in on it together, and lying to protect each other? Shoto. Speaking of which, I'd like to ask the bear, if there is an accomplice, do they also become blackened? Monokuma. A pew. I can certainly confirm that the accomplice does not count as blackened, yes. Momo. So in other words, two people can work together, but one of them has no chance of profiting from it. Satao. But why? Why would anyone want to be an accomplice for someone else? You would have to be nuts. Monokuma. Ugh, good grief. Enough already. No, okay, there are no accomplices in this case. Oops, did I say that out loud? Izuku. Anyway, I didn't go to the dining hall, and I didn't take the knife, so I'm not the killer. Toru. Okay. So then, who did take the knife? Jirao. Mina seems the obvious candidate. After all, she just said she was in the dining hall. Mina. Hold on. There's no way I did it. Sero. Sure, but can you or anyone else prove Krishima? I can. Mina. That's Krishima, was with me the entire time I was drinking my tea. Denki. But then, couldn't either one of them have grabbed the knife? Mina. Actually, no, because I'm well. Bakugo. Just spit it out already. Mina. Well, because they're not here anymore. Those words caused another commotion and uproar from the rest of the class, clearly confused and curious at what all of that was supposed to mean. Mina? Achako. She's the one who came to the dining hall, and then later, she wound up dead. Lita. Then the person who took the knife was the victim herself. Izuku. I'm sure she just took it for self-defense. Shoto. So you're saying the knife she took was then taken from her, and she was killed with it? In that case, you may not have taken the knife, but you still could have killed her. Izuku. What? Lita, he's correct. There is a possibility you just killed her after she took the knife in order to defend herself. Izuku. No, you're wrong. Lita. Then prove it. Prove you didn't do it. Momo, hold on. It's still too early to decide conclusively that Izuku is the killer, wouldn't you say? Because you see, if the room did belong to the killer, then they did something most bewildering, and until we unravel that little mystery, you simply can't declare that he's the killer. Satao, hold up. What mystery are you talking about? Momo, something was missing from the scene of the crime that by all rights should have been there. You know what I'm talking about, don't you? Izuku. That's right, there wasn't a single hair on the floor. Those words were met with looks of confusion and surprise all around. Everyone was trying to understand what that was supposed to mean. Why hair was important. Toru, so the culprit removed some evidence? Izuku. Yes, and if I were the culprit, why would I need to get rid of all the hair in my own room? It wouldn't be unusual at all to find my hair at the crime scene if the crime scene is in my room. Jirao, the reason all the hair was gone was to remove any trace that a Chaco had ever been there. That makes sense, does it not? Momo? No, if that were the case, they would have had to do something about the body itself, not just her hair. Denki? I'm not 100% convinced. Lita. But are you sure we can decide something so important based solely on the absence of some hair? Momo? No, there are other reasons that prove Izuku couldn't have done it. Momo? Do you remember anything remarkable about the bathroom at the scene? Ochako was attacked in the main room first, then fled into the bathroom, right? Toru, yeah, what about it? Momo, and how did the killer get into the bathroom? Did they have any trouble with it? Satao. What do you mean? Izuku, evidence that the killer had trouble getting into the bathroom. You're talking about the doorknob, right? Denki. Huh, the doorknob? What doorknob? Izuku, the doorknob for my bathroom. It was completely broken. See how the top part was unscrewed? And the doorknob's about ready to fall off. Sero, so what? You're saying he wouldn't break the door in his own room, but if the only choice you have is to break it, you break it. There's nothing bewildering about it. Denki? Yeah. Seems kind of obvious to me. Momo, the incident took place in Izuku room. Achako was first attacked in the main room. She then fled into the bathroom. Bakugo. Then the killer ran after her, and they got into the bathroom. Sero, at that point, the killer had to try and bust down the door because Achako had LOC. Izuku. No, that wrong. Izuku, the reason my bathroom didn't open wasn't because it was locked. After all, the girls' rooms are the only ones with locking bathrooms, right? Satao, then, why was it closed? Izuku, because it was stuck. Jirao, stuck? How was it stuck? Izuku, my bathroom door doesn't fit the frame quite right. Monokuma over there can testify to that. All of the eyes in the room shifted towards Monokuma, wondering if what Izuku was saying was true. Monokuma, grr, don't try and pull that crap. I ain't. Actually, yeah. Alright, I'll testify. Momo, so the reason the door didn't open was just because it was stuck, but the killer didn't know that, and assumed it was locked, so they tore apart the doorknob to get in. Kirishima, okay, but why wouldn't the killer know the door was stuck? Izuku, the killer must not have realized that it was my room. Lita, and what makes you say that? Momo, well, to be more specific, what the killer didn't know was that Izuku and Achako had switched rooms, which is what led to the misunderstanding about the bathroom. If Achako had been in her own room then, Nina? Oh, as a matter of fact, I do have one question. I was just wondering, how'd the culprit get into Izuku room in the first place? Kirishima? Yes. How did the killer get inside? Sero, maybe Achako just dropped the key somewhere, and the culprit picked it up. That's possible, right? Bakugo, that does sound like something she'd do. Lita, negative. If you remember, Monokuma made it quite clear that the locks are all unpickable. Mina, and that means if you didn't have a key, there really should have been a sign of forced entry, but there's just no way that could have been the case. Aoyama, they could have knocked and said they wanted to talk or something, and Miss Eureka just let him in. Kirishima, that's possible, I guess, though it does sound a little risky, don't you think? The murderer wouldn't take such a chance unless they were absolutely desperate, right? Izuku, no, that can't be it either. Izuku, because Achako was already scared, remember? That's why she asked me to switch rooms in the first place. Satao, I see, so in that situation, she likely wouldn't have opened her room to anyone. Was that it? Momo, what if her being scared was a lie? Aoyama, you mean, all of it was just an act, an elaborate lie? Momo, I know you don't want to consider it, but look at this, and tell me. Can you still deny the possibility? There's something I want to talk to you about. Just us two. In 5 minutes. Come see me in my room. Check the nameplates to make sure you don't get the wrong room, okay? I found a notepad during my search, and I shaded in the top sheet with a pencil, and these are the words that appeared. Mina. Oh man, I've totally seen people do that on detective shows. When you write, it can leave an imprint. Sketch over the next sheet of paper, and you can see the words. When I saw that, I was like, holy crap, I better make sure I rip the paper out before I use it from now on. Momo. It's a pretty old-fashioned technique, but even the classics can be surprisingly useful sometimes. Whoa, and I should also mention, I found the notepad on the desk in Izuku room. Izuku, Momo, which means, only someone who had been in Izuku room before the incident could have written it. Shadow. Then either it was Izuku, who lived there, or Achako, who switched rooms for a single night. Jirao, that's right, but those are the only two possibilities. Momo. So Izuku, did you write this? Izuku. And no, of course not. Momo. Course you didn't, because the note also bears a perfectly legible signature, a Achako signature. Izuku, but why? Why would she write that? Momo. The note was likely her way of getting in touch with a certain someone. She must have slid it under their door, to let them know she wanted to meet with them in secret. Jirao, can we be sure anyone even got this note? And honestly, even if they did, I do not think they are at all involved in what happened. Lita. What makes you say that? Jirao. HMHM. Would you like to hear what I have to say? Very well then, pay attention. The room was still. Everyone was now listening closely to Jirao, as she prepared to reveal the next major step in this case. Jirao, Achako, and Izuku switched rooms. Correct, but in the note, the place they were asked to come to, it specifically says my room. Aoyama. I see, so if someone read that note, then they would have gone to Achako room. Jirao, exactly, the room that Izuku was Izuku. No, that wrong. Izuku. The nameplates on my and Achako rooms got switched. Jirao. They got switched. Momo. That's right, the nameplates got switched, just like the rooms themselves. As a result, the nameplate on Achako room actually had the Izuku name, and the nameplate on Izuku room had Achako. Kirishima. So which room was Achako actually in? Izuku. In my. Sero. Okay. Then who did it? Satao, you mean, who switched the nameplates? Izuku, me, and Achako were the only ones who ever knew about us switching rooms, so the only other person besides me who would even know to switch the nameplates was Achako. Momo. You can also infer as much from her note. She specifically tells the reader to check the nameplate. She would only have written that if she knew the nameplates had been switched. Mina. But, why would she switch them in the first place? Kirishima. I can't think of any reason for that. It's all so damn weird, really. Momo. She wanted someone to come to the room she was in, and also hide the fact that it was Izuku room. Aoyama. But why? Why go through the trouble of doing all that? Momo. To understand that, we first need to understand what happened after she invited the person into the room. That's where the answer lies. Lita. What happened then was probably, whoever she invited over, came in, and attacked her. We figured it out. We know who did it. Whoever she invited over is the culprit. A wave of excitement came over the room, the case finally reaching its conclusion until Satao. But there's still one thing that's bugging me. Bakugo, the hell's there to bother you about? We figured it out, right? Satao, yeah. Everything was starting to make sense, but that last part was just too convenient. Whoever she invited over coming in and attacking her like that. Kirishima. Oh, come on. It's not like we can think of anything that would make more sense at this point. Satao, no, I get it. It makes sense, but it just seems too lucky, or maybe too simple. You know what I mean? Sero, yeah. I think I get it. It just feels like too much of a coincidence that the person she was trying to talk to ended up being the one who attacked her. Jirao Achako fought with her killer there in the room. Yes, perhaps the answer to our previous question lies in that initial struggle. Mina. Are you saying you think the attack wasn't planned or something? Jirao. Maybe her attacker came with the intent to talk with her, as per that note's request. But once they got there, and they began speaking, Achako changed her mind. She tried to stop them or something, and the two ending up fighting. Momo. Yes, I think you're right. Mina. That does sound like it could be it. So the person who went over to her room was probably someone Achako trusted, right? Like a friend? Someone she just wanted to talk to? Mineta. So let's focus on the fight. All eyes were on Mineta once he spoke up, though most of them had a feeling his thoughts would still be perverted, to say the least. Satao, wait. What do you mean by that? Mineta. There was a replica sword at the murder scene. Was that perhaps used during the fight? Bakugo, oh yeah. What's the deal with that sword? Izuku Ochako suggested I should hold on to it. I thought it might come in handy if I had to defend myself. It seems pretty likely that the killer used it to break Ochako right wrist. Lita, yes, that makes sense. And what about the other injuries on her body? Shoto, that was the only injury beside the stab wound. Mina, so, she just got stabbed. And she broke her wrist. That's it? Toru, yeah. Sato, well, that just seems sort of anticlimactic. Kirishima, alright, then it's about time to solve this mystery. Kirishima, when the fighting broke out, the culprit grabbed the sword, and that's when the first blow was dealt. A sword boss. Izuku, no, that wrong. Sato, what do you mean that's wrong? Izuku, because the sword sheath had been scratched. See, there's a gash in it, like someone cut into it with something sharp. Everyone's attention was focused on the sheath in question, as Izuku pointed out the aforementioned gash. Toru, something sharp. You mean, like the kitchen knife? That was the only sharp thing found at the scene. Jirao, so you think the knife cut into the sheath? Lita, I think I get it. So here's how it all played out. The culprit came in, found the kitchen knife hidden there somewhere. Then, they took the knife, and attacked Sayaka before she knew what was happening. So she grabbed the sword to defend herself. But then the culprit took that from her too. Then, after they broke her wrist with the sword, they took the knife and finished it. Momo, sorry, but I don't think Ochako used the sword to defend herself. Sero, how the hell can you not think that? Momo, because she never held the sword at all. There's a certain part of her body that makes this clear. Izuku, you're talking about her palms, right? The palms of her hands were perfectly clean, so I don't think she ever picked up the sword. Asu, maybe she washed her hands after she escaped into the bathroom. Izuku, sorry, but I don't think so. Sato, what makes you say that? Izuku, according to the Monokuma file, Ochako time of death was around 1:30 a.m. In other words, at nighttime, and the water in the bathroom shuts off at nighttime, right? Lita, so she couldn't have washed her hands, after all. Lita, so anyway, if Ochako never touched the sword, then that means the killer was the only one who used the sword. But hold on, if that's right, then the one who damaged the sheath with the kitchen knife was Izuku Ochako? She had the kitchen knife? Aoyama, wait, that can't be it. Bakugo, the person with the knife, attacked first, and the sword was used as an impromptu defense. Mineta, then the one who attacked first was Izuku Ochako. Momo, now do you understand? She wasn't a blameless victim in this. Shoto, no, far from it. It's almost as if she had been planning to commit a murder of her own. She took the knife from the kitchen, then invited the culprit to the room she was staying in, and if it's true that she had the kitchen knife, and attacked without provocation, Sato, then that would make her the aggressor, and the attacker and the victim would be the same person. Jiro, which brings up another point. Izuku Ochako was the one who suggested you two switch rooms, correct? Maybe the reason she wanted to switch rooms was so that she could pin the crime on you. That is a possibility, is it not? The room fell into silence as Jiro brought up a very good point, and all of a sudden, Izuku's guilt came back into question. Izuku Ochako wanted to on me? Mina? We can't say for sure, but it is a possibility. Jirao, that would also explain why she would switch the nameplates. She wanted to get whoever she had targeted to come to Izuku room, where she was staying, and by committing the murder there, instead of her room, that would implicate Izuku. But for that to work, the target had to be lured out, while still keeping the room swap a secret. If the target knew she had switched rooms, they would have become suspicious right away. Kirishima, so that's why she had you hide the fact that you two swapped rooms. Bakugo, holy shit. Jirao. But in the end, her plan backfired. She launched her attack with the knife, then found herself under attack in turn. That must be when her wrist were broken, and she was forced to drop the knife. Shoto, the tables were suddenly turned on her, and she died at the hands of the one she'd planned to murder. Izuku, just hold on. That can't be true. Because, Mina. Because what? Monokuma, hey, you guys have totally derailed the argument. You're being super boring right now. Come on. Hurry up, and decide who did it. Wouldn't it be awful if I had to punish you all just because you ran out of time? Sero, it's easy just to say, hey, decide who did it, but there just aren't any more clues, right? Mina? So what are we supposed to do then? Izuku, there still might be one clue left. Ochako dying message. Kirishima, right, I can't believe we forgot all about that. Momo, the dying message. She wrote something on the wall behind her, remember? 0R35. Written in her own blood. There must be a clue about the killer hidden in there. Lita, how can you be so sure of that? Izuku, her left index finger had blood on it. That could only be because she used that finger to write the message. Mina? So she intentionally wrote that message using her own blood? Mina? Sure, I think we can all agree Achako wrote it. But still, what the heck do those numbers, 0 or 35? Satao, is it some kind of code, or something? Izuku. Oh my god. Now I see. She wrote down the killer's name. Everyone's face had a flash of realization in their eyes, eager to hear Izuku's explanation. Jirao, she wrote down the killer's name? Then what is it? Izuku. The key to solving this mystery was simply to rotate the writing 180 degrees. If you turn the message around, it becomes the letters SERO, or more accurately, Sero. Sero? WH. What the hell are you talking about? It's just a coincidence. It's just a bunch of random squiggles that happen to look like my name. Kirishima? You're sure it's just a coincidence? Momo. She wrote that message on the wall behind her as she was leaning up against it. In that position, she couldn't move to write normally, and had to write upside down, as it were, and as a result, when you look at it standing in front of her, it ends up getting flipped. Try it for yourself if you want. Write something sitting like her, and the letters will be inverted. Sero, that sounds like one hell of a stretch to me. I'm the killer? You can't just go and say shit like that. Aoyama, I mean, it does sound really unlikely that someone as nice and helpful as you would turn out to be a murderer. Momo, if you're not the killer, then why did you try to destroy the evidence? Sero, destroy evidence? You're talking about me? Izuku, you mean the burnt shirt piece I found laying on the ground by the incinerator, right? Lita, that shirt piece had burnt edges. It was clearly placed in the fire. Momo, as the killer stabbed Sayaka, they must have gotten some of her blood on them, and to dispose of the shirt covered in the victim's blood, they threw it into the incinerator. Lita, that shirt piece had burnt edges. It was clearly placed in the fire. Momo, as the killer stabbed Achako, they must have gotten some of her blood on them, and to dispose of the shirt covered in the victim's blood, they threw it into the incinerator. Izuku, hell, let me go over the case one more time. Lita, all right, we're all listening. Izuku, last night, the killer went to the room Achako was in other words, my room. From what we can tell, Achako invited that person there intending to kill them. She attacked them with the knife she's taken from the kitchen earlier. But then something happened that she wasn't prepared for. They grabbed the fake sword I'd put in my room and fought back. During the struggle, a strike from the sword broke Achako's right wrist, and that's when she lost her grip on the kitchen knife. Finding herself cornered, Achako panicked and ran into the bathroom. The killer went after her, but couldn't get the bathroom door open. What they didn't know was that my bathroom door got stuck easily, and there was a trick to opening it. Achako knew about that because I'd told her, but of course the killer had no way of knowing. So instead, the killer forced the door open, took the kitchen knife, and stabbed Achako. But with what strength she had remaining, Achako left a dying message. To keep the killer from noticing, she wrote it on the wall behind her, and with that, all her strength was gone. With Achako dead, the killer quickly began destroying the evidence. First, they took off their shirt, which was covered in their victim's blood. Then they took the lint roller in my room and cleaned up the entire area. They wanted to make sure they got rid of any trace they'd ever been there. Afterwards, the killer headed to the trash room to destroy their bloody shirt. They tried to burn the shirt using the incinerator there, but the trash room was blocked off by an especially sturdy gate, preventing access to the incinerator. So, they came up with a plan to use a crystal ball. The killer managed to throw the ball through the gap in the gate and hit the incinerator's switch. For any normal person, that'd be an impossible throw. But the killer had the confidence to take a shot, and that's because the killer had a tape cork. The crystal ball, thrown with absolute precision, hit the switch on the incinerator, which then quickly roared to life. Having destroyed the final piece of evidence, they left the area with, I imagine, a sigh of relief. But there was one thing they missed. Part of the shirt they'd thrown into the fire burnt away and fell out of the incinerator. The killer didn't notice this, and so left behind a piece of indisputable, isn't that right, Sero? Momo, so, Sero, do you object to anything that's been said? Sero, I've got tons of things to say. Mina, then say it. Sero, hell yes, I object. Of course I do. I object. I object. I object. I mean, all of this is just a bunch of stupid theories. You need evidence. Where's the evidence? Without evidence, it's all bullshit. It's bullshit and I refuse to acknowledge it. Momo, well then, I guess this is as good a time as any to present the evidence that proves you did it. Izuku, I believe you're in possession of that evidence? They started an argument. Izuku, the screws on the bathroom doorknob were removed. I wonder what kind of tool the killer used to remove them. Izuku, but the toolkit in my room had clearly never been used. Satao, oh, so you're saying the killer used the toolkit from their own room instead? Izuku, Sero, would you mind showing us your toolkit? If I'm right about this, then the screwdriver will show some evidence of being used. Bakugo, and if you say you used it for something else, you'll have to explain exactly when, where and why. Momo, and let me say this right now, I lost it isn't an excuse at this point. Bakugo's words made it painfully clear, to Sero, that there was no way for him to talk his way out of this one. And he knew it. Shoto, so, you have no rebuttal? Sero stayed completely silent. The room was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. Jirao. Then it would seem. We are finished here, after voting. Monokuma, oh, looks like you got it right on the money. The blackened in this case, the one that killed Acheko was none other than Hanta Sero. The word sent a shiver down Sero's spine. The room was filled with tension as Sero realized that his fate was sealed. Krishima, son of a bitch, what the hell is wrong with you? Mina, why'd you have to go and do something like that, Sero? Sero, you don't understand. That's not, I didn't mean for any of this to happen. Lita, you didn't mean for this to happen? Then what did you mean to happen when you killed her? Sero, I never meant to go this far. Alright, Monokuma? Now then, since you so magnificently revealed the identity of the killer during the class trial, the blackened, Hanta Sero, will receive his punishment. Those words left everyone frozen in place, and a horrified expression crossed Sero's face. Sero, you mean, execution? Wait a second, I didn't have a choice, I had to kill her. Why yeah, that's it, I was just protecting myself in the heat of the moment, it was self-defense. Jirao, how, exactly, was it self-defense? When you forced your way into the bathroom, did you or did you not use your very own toolkit? After she'd shut herself in the bathroom, you went out of your way to head back to your own room. Then you came all the way back, broke into the bathroom, and killed her. Am I wrong? You had any number of chances to stop what you were doing, but you chose not to. Is it not because you had an unclouded intent to commit murder? Every word that came out of Jirao's mouth left Sero more speechless than the last, unable to come up with a counter-argument, as it became more and more clear that there was nothing Sero could do to worm his way out. A look of complete and total desperation began to surface on his face. Monokuma, let's hurry up and get to what everyone's been waiting for. The punishment. Those words shook Sero to his core, as he finally realized that there was truly no escape for him at this point. The punishment was inevitable. Sero, please, I don't want to die. Monokuma, no more begging, no more excuses. You must pay the penalty for breaking the rules. Society demands it. Sero looked all around the room, as if he was hoping someone would come to rescue him at the very last second, but he knew deep down that no such help was coming. Sero, and no. Wait please, I'll do anything but this. Monokuma, let's give it everything we've got. It's punishment time. Sero, wait, HELLLP. Execution title. Stick around. Phase 1, the setup. Sero is strapped to a giant industrial tape dispenser in the middle of a massive, looping conveyor belt. The belt starts moving, and Sero is forcefully unspooled like a roll of tape, his own quirk used against him. Phase 2, the obstacle course. The conveyor belt takes him through a series of deadly obstacles, like massive paper cutters, industrial rollers, and crushing tape reels. He narrowly dodges some, but his arms are repeatedly stuck to surfaces, forcing him to peel himself away, causing visible pain and exhaustion. Phase 3, the sticky end. After enduring a brutal series of slams and stretches, Sero is launched onto a gigantic sheet of flypaper hanging over a skyscraper. His body gets stuck midair, completely immobilized. The camera zooms in on his panicked expression before a giant hand, resembling Monokuma's, appears and violently rips him off like a used sticker. Monokuma, woohoo! Extreme, man, my adrenaline is pumping right out of control. Mineta? You are, Mina, I can't take this anymore. Do we really have to keep doing this? I just can't take it. Monokuma, well hey, if you don't like it, you gotta do is swear to cut all ties with the outside world, and accept living here forever. But that's only if every single one of you can get on board with that. Pew-hoo-hoo-hoo. Wah-ha-ha-ha, bwah-ha-ha-ha. Izuku, this is your first you the reason why they died. Start to cry. We will beat this killing game for the both of them. Monokuma, good luck with that. Pew-hoo-hoo-hoo. Watching you all suffer is just way too much fun. Monokuma let out a maniacal laugh as he skipped along, leaving them all to their despair. The remaining survivors were left behind after Monokuma had left, and everyone was still trying to come to terms with the trauma from the execution. Kauta had his face buried in his hands, while Jiru was completely frozen in place. Meanwhile, both Mina and Kaminari were trembling. Bakugo simply stood there, his face completely devoid of any emotion as he stared down at the floor. While Lita had his head hung low in utter despair, Sato was shaking in fear as the realization of the situation fully sank in, and even Kirishima was completely speechless. Mineta, on the other hand, was outright sobbing at this point. They left the trial and went back to their rooms. Izuku looked in his shower, and see it was spotless like nothing was never there. Izuku is about to go to bed until he hears knocking on his door. Izuku looks at the door curiously as he walks over and opens it. Momo? Izuku, can I talk to you for a second? Yeah, of course. Izuku nods, stepping aside to let her in. Momo, before we head back, there's something I want to talk to you about. Izuku, it's about Ochako, isn't it? Momo nods. She closes the door behind her as she enters the room, walking straight over to the bed, and sitting down. Momo, I told you before the class trial started, you had to figure out the mystery of this case yourself. Izuku sighs and sits down next to her, a solemn expression on his face. Yeah, I know, Momo, Ochako meant to double-cross you. That's a fact that you can never change. But even till the very end, she wasn't sure of her decision. That's why, as she lay dying, she was thinking of you. A mix of surprise and pain passes over Izuku's face as he processes the information. She thought of me? Momo nods, a gentle look in her eyes. Yes, Izuku, even though she made a grave mistake, she never stopped caring about you. She was thinking about you, even till the very end. Momo, the fact that she used her last ounce of energy to leave her dying message proves it. If she didn't care what happened to you, she never would have left that message. Izuku's eyes glisten with tears as he absorbs Momo's words. Roman, I know she never meant to hurt me. She just got caught up in despair, and made a horrible mistake. But, I can't stop feeling this pain in my heart when I think about what she did. Momo places a comforting hand on Izuku's shoulder. It's normal to feel conflicted, Izuku. You care about her deeply, and the pain of her betrayal runs deep. But remember, there was a part of her that never stopped caring about you, even in her darkest moment. Izuku nods slowly, wiping away the tears from his eyes. He takes a deep breath, trying to compose himself. You're right, I can't forget that, but it's just so hard to let go of the anger and pain I feel towards her betrayal. How can I forgive her when what she did hurt me so badly? Momo, by the way, I have to admit, I'm curious. How did you know I wanted to talk to you about Ochako? Izuku, oh, well, I'm psychic. Momo's eyes widen, genuinely surprised by Izuku's response. She stares at him for a moment, dumbfounded, before bursting into laughter. Psychic? Really? Izuku? Kidding. I just have pretty good intuition. Momo shakes her head, still amused by his joke. I have to admit, you had me for a second there, Izuku. But seriously, your intuition is impressive. Sometimes I wonder if you have a sixth sense or something. End of chapter 1.